How's it going?
It's good, and I just want to let people know I'm streaming on TikTok, which is it's a site for people who have a bit of a tick problem on their cocks, but you know it's being dealt with. I don't want to act like it's not being dealt with.
Well, that's good. You're not shaming TikTok people. We don't want to shame people who have a cock problem or tick problem with their cocks.
No, you don't. Listen, if you happen to enjoy some frisky business in the woods, it's bound to happen.
Frisky business in the woods? This is that sounds like an 80s like rom-com or something, like some kind of weird comedy it would only do in the 80s.
It was the plot to my unsold script screenplay, but
yeah, was it starring Matthew Modine and some of the other gang from the 80s, or who else was in
it? Yeah, mainly Mickey Rourke. It was Mickey Rourke, and then Mickey Rourke playing three other characters as well.
Was this pre plastic surgery Mickey Rourke, or was this?
Oh, there was a pre-plastic surgery Mickey Rourke? Wow, Graham.
Yes, Year of the Dragon.
You are old, Graham.
I am very old. I thought he was amazing in the 80s. Year of the Dragon, and what was that other movie with Robert De Niro? Anyway,
there's an amazing, it went viral like 10 years ago or something. It's a photo of Mickey Rourke and Axl Rose sitting together at like a basketball game. And they're like, hey, but because of whatever weird plastic surgery shit has been done to both of them, they look fucking bizarre. And it says at the bottom, it's like Mickey Rourke and Axl Rose looking like a lesbian couple that owns a taxidermy shop in Maine or something. And it's truly amazing. You get a certain kind of plastic surgery and everybody ends up looking the same.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, I've had a lot of work done. And so I
can tell, mainly below the waist, but
yes. I've had a lot of cock reduction surgery.
I mean, at some point, it's just too heavy to carry around. You know, people like to criticize. Why would you ever have it reduced? And it's like, dude, you don't understand the experience.
It was hurting my back. You know what I mean? To carry that kind of lumber around, it was hurting my back.
And it helps my pants fit better.
You know how many pants I was going through a year? You know what I mean? Like, so I needed to have it happen. It just it was too much.
Yeah,
it was too much.
You're just ripping through pants on a daily basis.
This is why you tuned into Government Secrets. I'm assuming everybody was to hear this plastic surgery dick jokes.
This is absolutely why they tune in. I've seen a lot of comments where they're just like, why do they keep talking about government secrets when they know why we're here?
They like, stop muddling up the show with actual government secrets. We just want to hear you guys riff about the dumbest crap ever that just makes you each laugh. But so we haven't done an episode in a couple weeks because of some schedule stuff and the holidays and traveling.
Yeah, and I got family shit. So yeah, there's some stuff going on. But
I confirm this is the actual episode 65. So we went episode 63, then we jumped to 65, then we came back to 64. So this is the actual episode 65.
We like to give people like a time warp feeling. You know, it's not enough to just listen to a podcast. You want to feel like you've been there before, but you're also in the future somehow at the same time.
I know we haven't had enough weird things with COVID, so I want to keep people just off balance as best I can. And just,
I mean, you were so bad for so long on the episode numbers that I gave up paying attention. So when you said it was 65, I didn't bat an eye. I was like, sure, whatever.
What? Okay, buddy, whatever. Just another, like, sure, you saw the Loch Ness monster, just lying like nobody cares. I was on such a hot streak. There was a good 15 episodes where I was right on the money. I mean, it was I was on a hot streak.
I treat you now the way I treated my grandmother towards the end, where it was true. There was a kernel of truth. Like it was true she had gone parasailing one time, but then over the years it became 2 times, then 4 times, and then towards the end she was a paratrooper for the French at some point in her life. And so I respond the same to you. I'm like, yeah, it's great, Graham. Episode whatever. You're doing great.
This is episode 65 when I was a Navy SEAL, of course. We're going to discuss that. So I love that you just, politely tap me on the head. And, oh, that's cute, Graham, whenever I say stuff. That's fantastic. We do need to discuss, obviously, the Assange ruling, which is awful. I covered it on my show last week. I'm sure you have talked about it.
I did a video as well, but I figured in place of This Week in Secrets, we should probably mention this fucking egregious pile of shit. Fucking goddamn it pile of shit.
It's too goddamn it pile of shits. And I was on Status Quo with Jordan Sheridan, and we were just like, the audacity of the American empire. On the day Julian Assange is this judge who's just a liar, just a puppet. America had the audacity to do this like democracy summit.
Yeah.
Where they talked about the importance of press freedom. And on this summit was the new leader of Venezuela, Juan Guaido. It was just like, this is just
the new leader of Venezuela, who's never had a single vote cast for him to be leader of Venezuela.
Never. No one's ever voted for him. Most Venezuelans didn't even know who he was. He's a CIA puppet. And on the day Julian Assange is getting a bullshit ruling in a kangaroo court, America has the audacity. I mean, it's the arrogance of America is the hypocrisy and the arrogance knows no bounds with Americans.
Yeah.
It's
the other thing, you know what else that day was when we got the ruling that the high court said Julian Assange should be extradited to be tortured in America. It was Human Rights Day. So, America standing up for human rights around the world.
Unbelievable. Like literally, America just has all these ridiculous days that the ones that are supposed to be political are just not. It's just another excuse. I don't know, for social media posts or to buy t-shirts or something. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's just like, it's like everybody cheats on their spouse on Valentine's Day or something. Like, I don't know. I don't know what, like what.
Of course, the reason this fits with a show on government secrets is no one has revealed more government secrets, crucial government secrets that the people of any country should know than Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. And it's just been fucking pathetic by our political elite, who are the ones actively persecuting him. And of course, under the Trump administration, had a plan to kill him. But then also our mainstream media. It's like the fucking lack of spine to have a moment where they stand up for a fellow journalist is like, as if they weren't shit stains before. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, no one in the media was screaming about this, and no one. And again, WikiLeaks has never had to retract anything. There's not one single media outlet in the history of the human race anywhere on this planet that can say that. Not one. Like, and not like our show is cool and everything, but ours is also kind of a historical show to give people sort of a historical context on how awful America is. WikiLeaks,
and even we have had to retract the episode number many times.
I don't want to get hung up on numbers, Lee. I just don't. I just like, let's live in a free flowing society. But in like WikiLeaks, they're bringing up relevant stuff today that people need to know. And the way our awful two-party system, like when WikiLeaks was calling out, Bush or whatever, then boy, everyone on the left loved him. When they called out the Clintons and the Obamas, and then no, they're bad. And because Americans are so propagandized, but I'm beginning to have less and less sympathy for Americans who are willfully propagandized. And when you show them counter evidence, they just don't want to hear it. And, they wanted to believe that Russia hacked the election because they hated Trump so much, and they didn't want to hold Hillary and the Democrats accountable.
It truly is incredible that people I highly respect and consider friends or family, and I can sit down with them and they can agree with many things that I would say if I made broad statements about, Julian Assange should be free, or, Israel's persecuting Palestinians, things like that. They'll agree with them. But then if I say, so why do you ever read the New York Times if you know they're actively lying to you? They don't even answer, and they'll keep reading the New York Times. And then, these are people, again, I highly respect, or or friends or family that I respect. And I'll be like, so for example, there's a recent anti-China propaganda thing going on about the Chinese tennis player. Said that the New York Times says she claimed sexual assault against a former higher up in the Communist Party and the Chinese Communist Party, and she since then all this shit has rained down and she's been disappeared or whatever. Go read the translation of the post she put up on her own. It's not Instagram, it's whatever the popular one is in China, but on her own page,
WeChat.
Go read the translation. She doesn't actually accuse him of sexual assault. She says they had a consensual affair. She was in love with him, or is in love with him, and his wife knew about it, and she's upset where things ended up going. And there's a discussion to be had about whether the relationship was dealt with correctly, that kind of shit. But they're literally, every outlet is saying she was sexually assaulted. And you can read, it's not that hard. Hit Google Translate and fucking read the goddamn piece. And doesn't matter. People will keep believing that shit. At no point in it does she say she was sexually assaulted. So it's amazing.
America. I mean, this is the country that literally in the same broadcast will say, we need to stop Asian hate. These elderly Asian people that are getting attacked and being blamed for COVID is awful. And then, China is our enemy. And we need
right. Let's lay the seeds of Asian hate while saying we're against Asian hate.
Yeah.
It's like Donald Trump saying he's not racist.
Yeah. So,
and by the way, folks, on the same day, many of you may already know this, on the same day that this ruling came down, Julian Assange had a stroke. So for anyone who thinks he's not suffering already, and a lot of this had to do with his health. The only reason they said don't extradite him was because of his health and because he might commit suicide in the fucking egregious U.S. prison system, or be harmed in another way. And here he is fucking having a stroke. It's like, do you need more proof that this guy is not healthy and is being not treated properly? Like, it's just fucking awful on every level.
It's like, I don't know when, I don't know what the solution, I don't know when people are going to storm the castle. I mean, for a legitimate reason, not some stupid stop the steal nonsense, but like
White Castle, that's tonight at 6 p.m. I'll tell you that much. Storming that castle.
Yeah, I don't know what, because the protests and the petitions and the calling elected officials, I mean, I don't know what it does. I don't know, because we don't have if we had an actual representative democracy, then you probably could get some movement happening, but we don't. So
no, this maybe is a conversation for another time, but on my other podcast, Common Censored, we talk about more about like activist techniques and things like that. And in my opinion, in the opinion of many activists. The whole signing a petition means nothing. Emailing means nothing. The politicians are so bought out that no number of signatures on a petition could ever have any influence over them unless it's attached to millions of dollars. And protest means nothing unless it interrupts business as usual. If you get a permit, and I'm not saying never do it, because there is an argument to be made that it can wake some more people up, that, you can get young people out and they start to learn what's going on and that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. But in a larger sense, a permitted protest, we're going to, White House police, we're going to be there from 7 to 8 p.m. and we're going to demand that the U.S. Treat Iran correctly. And then we will politely leave at 8 p.m. and pack up our things and we'll clean up any litter we've left. It's borderline meaningless. I mean, it's Eleanor Goldfield, who co-hosts Common Censored with me, she calls it a parade. It's not a march, it's a parade. It's you wave your flag, you feel good about yourself. But other than making maybe other people aware of what's going on, to some degree, it's meaningless unless it interrupts business as usual. The shit that has had an impact is people putting wrenches in gears. It's people in front of pipelines. We see pipeline after pipeline canceling or pulling out or ending their contracts because activists have just created enough fucking monkey wrench in the gears that the lawsuits and the fucking arrests and all this shit, all the paperwork, it slows everything down. Insurance companies pull out because the pipeline's not going through quick enough. And eventually they cancel them. Now, it doesn't always work, but it has far more of an impact than standing in front of the White House, taking a photo of yourself, being like, I did it, and then leaving.
Yeah, on a Saturday afternoon, and then everybody goes back, when no business. You got to shut it down. You have to shut down. But this day when like Americans are going to finally wake up is not going to happen. The only way it'll happen is if like the economy, like people have no jobs and, 10, 20, 30 million, 50 million people are out of work and the banks are not worth nothing. The dollar is, when that like financial collapse happens, Americans might wake up, but they probably will just fight with each other. And they won't ever get it done. Americans are never going to do a goddamn thing unless it comes knocking on their front door. And no one will give a shit about climate change unless the Super Bowl gets canceled because of climate change. It won't happen.
Unless The Voice had to postpone an episode because of tornadoes.
Yeah,
no one cares.
If the American Idol studio got flooded, then maybe they would do something about it. But literally,
dude, I was in a Lyft ride and they had on the like local whatever NPR, not NPR, but the local NPR, WBAI or whatever. And they're like, it's the weather guy. And he's like, hello, temperatures are going to be in the 70s today. They might as well start calling this October instead of December. And it was like, at no point did he say the words climate change or this is fucked or anything. It's just like, break out your shorts, folks. It is nice outside. And it's like, at what point are we going to fucking stop that? Like, at what point are we not like, this is so neat?
It's Kentucky just had the longest sustained tornado in history. 4 hours. This tornado touchdown for 4 hours. And some climate scientists
and it and others killed like 100 people.
Yeah, 100 people that wiped out a factory, a candle factory, leveled it. They showed the before and after, leveled it. And, there was a
comedian B wants to know if they're going to have a candlelight vigil for that. I'm sorry, Graham. It had to be said.
I can't. Yeah, let's hope that they do have a candlelight vigil for that. But yeah, it's anyway. Let's maybe move on to our first subject.
No, I agree. It's fucking tragic, but it's amazing to hear these news reports act like this is all fine. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, honestly, it's one of the reasons we do the show. We get the information out there, but then we have to joke about it because we don't know what else to do as comedians. I don't know what else to do. You know, when I first started doing this YouTube show, I was encouraged by Jimmy Dore to do it. I thought I was going to be a part of something. I wasn't naive to think my little YouTube show was going to change the world, but I thought I was a part of this whole movement. And I met people like you and Ron Placone and Abby Martin and other like activist journalists out there. And I thought, wow, there's a whole world out there and we're going to get stuff done. And nope, it's not happening. And now the left is just fighting with itself like a bunch of high school kids, and everyone's got all these stupid opinions on dumb bullshit. And
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty fucking cynical at this point, but I definitely, like, as I was going down this path, I saw the impact that people power was able to have in smaller instances, you know, saving a guy on death row or stopping one small pipeline or things like that. And it had a big impact on me in terms of like, oh, wow, like it doesn't take that many people to have a fucking impact. And it's true on a smaller scale. But in terms of like, are we going to change all of our systems to make this a sustainable planet? It's like, fucking show me where you see that in the cards.
I know. I mean, I look for the little victories too. Like, oh, there's one Starbucks that just got unionized. That's awesome. You know, but
Steven Donziger is back home on house arrest instead of in prison.
That's good. That's good. But I don't know. I try to find the silver lining just so I don't go insane. But
yeah, and unfortunately the silver lining, I don't know if you know this, is made with mercury. And so you really shouldn't touch it or have it on any of your clothes because it'll cause severe mental difficulties.
Even the silver lining is toxic. Like even just like rainbows murder, like just everything has a dark side.
Oh, don't get me started on what's in the rainbows.
Oh God.
Oh shit. You ever snuff that stuff? You're in trouble.
You step inside of a rainbow, you're basically giving yourself cancer.
Balls fall off immediately.
Well, let's get into government secrets, segment number 1 from episode 65, part 2.
I don't know what's a part of what, but anyway.
Beep, beep. If I say it in this voice, it must be right. So secret CIA files say staffers committed sex crimes involving children. Declassified CIA Inspector General reports show a pattern of abuse and a repeated decision by federal prosecutors not to hold the agency personnel accountable. The CIA is a rogue agency. It doesn't have to answer for its budget or its actions to anybody, not to Congress, not to the American voters. It has to answer to no one. And anyone who's watching the show that works at the CIA, you're part of the problem. Why don't you do good and be like disrupt it from within? Do the CIA tactics, you know, how they ruin activists, do it from within. Because you are part of a organization that not only condones pedophiles, commits it, doesn't get charged for it. And before I go into the specifics of this article, I would urge people, I have an Epstein playlist on my YouTube channel. 2 years ago, I interviewed CIA whistleblower John Kiriakou. And it was right after Epstein hung himself with a paper t-shirt. And
well, the paper t-shirt, while the two guards apparently cuddled and napped together.
And then went shopping online or whatever. Right. And on the one day the video camera was broken, it's all makes sense. It's all believable.
Video cameras, though, have a known like fear of trauma. And so they often will turn off when like big shit's going down. So that part doesn't surprise me. Video cameras are also often like, I don't want to see it. Ah! And they just,
well, video cameras are sentient beings that can feel emotions, and that's absolutely correct, Lee Camp. Thank you so much for clarifying this.
It's a good thing you had me here.
One of the things ex-CIA whistleblower John Kiriakou said, and again, go to my Epstein playlist on YouTube, is he said that the CIA like, it's not in their manual to go get children for people. But if you were like trying to get an asset, you were a CIA operative and you were trying to get an asset and you found out this asset was a pedophile, like children, and you got children for this asset.
And you want to tap that asset?
Yeah. And you want to tap that. And then you will, the CIA is not going to go, whoa, you crossed the line. They're going to be like, whatever you got to do to get this, you're going to get it. Like, they don't care. And if you now have, oh, now we've got leverage on this powerful guy. Again, and Acosta said in it, he gave Epstein the sweetheart deal in 2009, right? One of the things Acosta was told.
And he ended up being what in the Trump administration?
He was in, I forget, it was Secretary of Transportation or something like that. But Trump
he had some role.
Of course. So when the Trumpers say, oh, Trump was going to round up the pedophile, no, he's part of that whole thing. Just like the Clintons, they're all pieces of shit. And if aliens ever come here with superior technology, I will befriend them and I will wipe these people off the face of the earth. But anyway, aside from my sci-fi movie idea, he
was Secretary of Labor.
Secretary of Labor. So one of the things Acosta said was that Epstein was a CIA asset and to go easy on him, because we know that Epstein would have these parties with these powerful people. And then, you know, a butler would come up to this powerful guy and say, would you like a massage from a beautiful young woman? Oh, sure. She would perform sex acts. She would be a child. And they would videotape it, and Epstein would say, well, now they got leverage on him. And then usually those guys would give money to Epstein's hedge fund. He had a hedge fund that did no investing. There's no SEC record of any of it.
So who ended up with those videos?
Well, currently the FBI has them, but oh, wait, they were deemed inadmissible in the Julian Maxwell trial. Oh, phooey. What a wacky mistake. But here's something,
you know, weird. It was just because the courtroom didn't have a VCR player.
Yes.
That was the only reason. They were going to show them, but they were like, we don't have any way to play these.
Yeah, it was like old VCR and DVDs, and they're like, all we do is stream now, so they couldn't figure it out. Yep. And this isn't going to be a wacky coincidence either. The prosecuting attorney is James Comey's daughter. So there's that's
James Comey, the man who was the most despised human being on the planet the week of the Trump election because he reopened the case into Hillary Clinton and they claimed to cost her the election. But then a week later, they decided, no, it wasn't James Comey. It was the Russians. And James Comey is back to being a hero of the Democrats. Funny how that works.
And the judge in the Julian Maxwell case, the one who ruled that these are inadmissible, the 19 to 20,000 documents, videos, all the stuff seized from Epstein's penthouse in New York City, which Bill Cosby was one of his neighbors that Prince Andrew visited. Now
Cosby mostly known for wacky sitcoms, is that correct?
And pudding. He liked pudding.
I mean, that's all I know about him. Has there been an update or?
Nah, I think that's pretty much it. You know, he wrote Fat Albert, did all the voices. So I think that's it.
All right. All right.
The judge in that is also on record to have said that Alan Dershowitz is like, I forget the exact words, but she's like, Alan Dershowitz is an amazing lawyer and thinks Alan Dershowitz is great, which is another guy that's been named numerous times in Epstein. So there's no conspiracy here at all.
And Dershowitz has like done many TV interviews, like defending like Epstein.
Yes. And saying all the accusations by numerous Epstein victims that he participated, as did Julian Maxwell. So that's the other thing. The corporate media refuses to call her a rapist or a pedophile, even though she participated.
And not only refuse to call her a rapist, but there's been many articles saying like, is she the victim? ?
Oh, that's and you can thank pieces of shit like Vicky Ward, who Maria Farmer, one of Epstein's victims, thought, Vicky Ward came to her and said, we're going to uncover Epstein. And then clearly Vicky Ward is like secretly friends with Julian Maxwell, and then, has sold out several Epstein victims and does these like, I don't know, like she just gave an interview last week or so that was like, it's hard to say. Was Julian manipulated by Epstein? Boy, we don't know. Like, oh Christ, it's just like,
oh, Graham, look, I cannot tell you the number of parties I've been at where it's like, a friend of mine he's got some smooth talk. Before I know it, I'm giving a naked massage to a 13-year-old boy, and I'm like, what happened?
right.
It's all the time. All the time.
I'm just doing business with my buddy, and then he says, go out and traffic young girls, and I'm like, how did this happen? And I do it for 15 years, and I'm just
shit,
like,
it's been 15 years of this. Oh dear.
Whoops. Like, I mean, that was what happened to Himmler and Goebbels. Were like, we just wanted to get Germany out of the Depression, and then Adolf made all this crazy business, and we didn't know what to do. Like, it's just so getting back to the CIA, over the past 14 years, CIA has secretly amassed credible evidence that at least 10 of its employees and contractors committed sexual crimes involving children. So not only is the CIA just getting children for pedophiles that they want to leverage as assets, actual people in the CIA are pedophiles. So another reason, why if you're a drone strike operator and you accidentally bomb Langley, you would be a hero.
But even just the first part of what you said, which it's like, how does a CIA fucking operative agent, whatever, secure a boy sex slave for someone and be like, this is morally fine. I'm defending America. I'm helping. I'm going to videotape this, and then we'll have a little compromat on person X. And so it's fine that he's raping this 13-year-old. Like, fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, what this does, and what this does is it shows you several things. That question, how are they able to do this, right? Which is a very valid question to ask. Well, they're able to do it because they're the CIA, so they have access so sex trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar global industry. So the CIA knows who the most powerful people are, and that's why they find out about guys like Epstein, and we need him as an asset. So hey Jeffrey, we need a couple boys or girls for a guy. Send some our way. And then you have people like Ghislaine Maxwell, who in addition to being a pedophile and a rapist is a trafficker. And one of the things, that's why the fashion industry is so critical in this. There's always a connection to the fashion industry. And they go out there to 13, 14-year-old girls primarily, right, although a lot of boys are trafficked as well. And they go to the 13, 14-year-old girls and say, you want to be a famous model?
Yeah.
And if they find out they're from a poor family, we'll pay you 10 grand. And
I mean, it's tough to even imagine. I talk a lot in my show or whatever, other places, about economic force. Like, we act like it's not incredibly powerful. We act like these people still have free decisions, but economic force is so powerful. And so it's like a poor American, that's incredibly enticing to them. But imagine like someone in Haiti or these other countries where it's like, we'll offer you in a week what your entire family would make in a year to come on this plane and do whatever's asked of you. Like, it's just what people notice. What person, especially a young person, knows to say no to that? Like,
we have no idea in the first world countries what real poverty is like. We really don't. And I'm not trying to minimize anybody struggling in America right now. We have people living on the streets and it's awful, and something needs to be done about that. But we really have no idea. I remember somebody was critical of me, some fan, when I was saying, we need vaccine mandates, and it's a first world privilege to refuse a vaccine in where poor countries are begging for it. And they're posting videos in their nice kitchen. And I said, you're a rich white lady in your kitchen. She's like, I'm not rich. What are you talking about? Because she's comparing her middle-class kitchen to the big mansion down the street or whatever. I'm like, where you don't realize, if you have, there's a statistic, and I read years ago, So if you live in a house with indoor plumbing, if you have some food in a cupboard, even just a couple cans of food, and have some money, not even in a bank account, just in your pocket, and you have access to indoor plumbing, right? And a little food and a little bit of money, you're better off than 75% of the world. And so
it's something like 50% of the world makes $2 a day or less.
Makes $2 a day. I mean, and so you go to somebody like that and you say, we'll give you $10,000 and we're going to take your daughter to model school.
Right.
Okay. And there's even reports from people like Virginia Roberts who said they would hear Epstein laugh. I bought these 4 girls. They're getting flown over, how everyone's got a price. And they just exploited people economically. So this is how the CIA is able to do this. And we'll go back to this, this article. So
I'm really interested though about the scratch off savings that I see on the screen there.
You got to love these.
I mean,
most of these cases were referred to U.S. attorneys for prosecution. Only one of the individuals was ever charged with a crime. Gee, who says the CIA is never held accountable for anything? They're not even charged. Like, prosecutors sent the rest of the cases back to the CIA to handle internally. Oh, we know how that works. I mean, it's like internal affairs with the police. Criminals are the best people to investigate their own criminality. Like,
cops are always finding fellow cops guilty, just endlessly.
I mean, think about all the drug kingpins that we got arrested because we just said, hey, drug cartel, will you just investigate this internally? That's how we've always done it, correct? I mean, hey, biker gang, we just investigate your guys internally and then turn a couple guys over if you find any malfeasance. That's typically how our justice system works, right?
I remember whichever clown was in charge of the SEC during the Trump years. I can't remember who it was, but there was a quote where he said, I'm operating under the assumption that most of Wall Street wants to operate within the law, and they will let us know if something's not within the law. And I was like, why would you ever operate under that assumption? That's like saying, I'm going to allow these alligators to run this daycare, and I'm going to operate under the assumption that the alligators want to operate a great daycare.
Lee, look, most banks leave their doors unlocked at night on the honor system.
Right.
Because people were going to deposit and take out what's fair, what's rightfully theirs, and they're going to put it in they have a ledger book.
They just leave a pile of money in the middle of the floor, and they say, we trust you'll pull out whatever is yours.
Right. It's like take a penny, leave a penny.
Yeah.
It's like that. The banks always do that.
Wall Street works on that idea. Take a penny, leave a penny.
And we know it works, Lee. We know it works.
We've seen it work.
The few faced any consequences, shocker. That marks a striking deviation from how sex crimes involving children have been handled at other federal agencies, such as the Department of Homeland Security and the DEA. CIA insiders say the agency resists prosecution of its staff for fear cases will reveal state secrets. They always play that excuse.
Yep.
Oh, we're going to reveal state secrets. Really? The state secret that you guys are running a pedophile ring with taxpayer dollars out of the CIA.
That's why we're here, to reveal state secrets.
Here's one employee had sexual contact with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was fired. Boy, that's a tough
2-year-old. How the fuck? Yeah. What they fighting? Fuck.
Yeah.
Shit. Fuck. How do you? All right.
It makes you want to, these people need to be murdered. They need to be put down like you would.
Put down.
Like they're
correct.
Fucking monsters. There's no trial for these motherfuckers. Like this is a monster. This is like a rabid dog that eats children. You put that dog down like this. I don't know how you, I don't know. These are monsters. A second employee purchased 3 sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers.
Jesus.
Yep. There's a lot of female pedophiles. He resigned. A third employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. The records do not say what action, if any, the CIA took. None. Against him. A contractor who arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent posing as a child had his contract revoked. Boy, that is like,
rough punishment.
Like, that's rough. I mean, remember what they did to Jeffrey Dahmer when he arrested? They just said they took away his kitchen. You can't cook anymore.
Yeah, they did. They actually just the pots and pans. So.
Yeah.
And once those pots and pans were gone, he couldn't function as he used to. So
they took away his freezer, so he just had a fridge, so he couldn't freeze the skulls that he was then.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep them cold for a while in a fridge, but they're not gonna keep forever,
right? Well, so we pretty much got that guy locked up. That was pretty solid stuff.
Yeah.
So always trust the CIA guys. I got to tell you, if I ever got diagnosed with terminal cancer, I would fucking blow that building up. Anyway, one of those, only one of the individuals
We're going to do a full next episode on ways Graham would get back at the CIA.
Easy. Only one of the individuals cited in these documents was charged with a crime. Only one charged with a crime. In that case, as the only previous known case of the CIA staffer being charged with child sexual crimes, the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. The CIA did not answer detailed questions, saying only that the agency takes all allegations of blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up.
Wait, I thought the CIA was pretty much an open book.
Pretty much, right? Anyone can go in there.
You're saying they turned down an interview?
Yeah. And they said, we take all allegations seriously. Like, I can't read any more of these when corporations or government agencies that are clearly lying, cheating, in this case, raping children, give me their, our ethics are our foundation. And shut up. You just sound like an alderman caught in a strip club. Like, I would never. Like, you just be quiet.
But I gotta ask you. So, whenever you're talking about like innocent civilians killed by our bombing, a true one of these true American patriots will go, "Well, I don't like that happened, but it was done to keep America safe." So, can you at least acknowledge and be okay with the fact that this children raping was done to keep America safe?
Yeah, it was done to keep America safe. Like, hey, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. It's just like, no, the CIA is the problem. They are, and if you literally are an American, considers yourself a patriot, and you think, hey, if a couple kids got to get abused and that keeps us safe, unfortunately, I'm okay with that. Go fuck yourself. And I hope you're a Second Amendment person, and then blow your head off, like blow it off on a white background. So we all have evidence that your fucking brain was scattered. You are a vile piece of shit. And if I were ever be president of this fucking country, I would execute these motherfuckers. And I would be a tyrant to those in power. I would be the most brutal dictator to those in power.
I think
Graham Elwood 2024.
I think you're going harsh on the rapist, Graham.
Yeah, I am too hard. It's weird. I need to back off. I'm too mean on them.
No, you're absolutely right. Although I recommended this topic for you, I'm now thinking it might have been I should have given a trigger warning, perhaps.
No, it's all right. I saw it. I knew what was happening, but I just knew that, like, you should have known. You should have known better than to give me, like, that's all. I know. I'm all right with it. You should have known. Like, we're going to talk about this. There's not a lot of jokes happening. It's just going to be Graham's rage. But
listen, as long as if anyone's watched my show, as long as the rage is directed in the right direction, then I'm fine.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. I have a focused rage about those in power, and those in power that abuse children need to be taken out. Like, seriously. So anyone out there who's like, every time there's some mass shooting, I'm like, why can't one of these mass shooters go to a fucking CIA or FBI headquarters? Why can't they do that? Like, why can't they?
They really pick poor targets.
Why can't they go? Why is there always a school? What did these school kids do? Like, go to those in power.
It's like the Bilderberg group is meeting somewhere.
They're meeting somewhere. Find out. You know what I mean? These people have weddings, and these billionaires have weddings and shit. Like,
there's a great photo of the Clintons' wedding with Julian Maxwell there.
yes, yes. And just so, sexual crimes involving children, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the intelligence community fined the 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. Okay, so blow those satellites out of the sky. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's and among more than 3,000 pages covering the years 2004 to 2019, are investigations, big and small, involving billing irregularities by contractors, a spy who expensed a visit to an overseas gentleman's club, an employee who used government computer systems to resell more than 700 items purchased at yard sales. Like, it's just and the CIA, of course, at first wouldn't respond to requests for for files and stuff like that to provide documents, even though they're legally supposed to under the Freedom of Information Act. And there's lawsuits. I mean, like, this article just goes on and on about all the awful shit that was done here. So what you're looking at is a heavily redacted report from the CIA Inspector General. Inappropriate sexual activity with an unidentified 2-year-old girl.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And then
so this is being done by an informant or done by the CIA?
Done by the CIA.
Jesus.
And these are done under its operations. So they put this in reports, but then they redact the shit out of it and then release it. So this is another one. Blank admitted to having inappropriate sexual contact with a then 6-year-old girl. So this is their own documents say this. This is the CIA's own documents say this. Like, and this article goes on and on.
They unredacted that part because they were like, well, that's not bad. No, that's not just sexual activity with a 6-year-old. That part, we'll leave that part visible because, who hasn't? But
yeah, they are the CIA, and anyone that reveres the CIA is you're a sucker, you're an idiot, or you like this. And anyone's like, we need the CIA. And so when you watch the corporate media and they have these like intelligence or all these CIA Democrats that just ran, just know that they're a part of this, or at least knew about it and did nothing. Or even if they worked at this agency and did the right thing, and if this information comes forward and then they don't do anything about it, it's the same the thing we have with the systemic racism in domestic police departments. There's a few bad apples. Well, if a so-called good cop is watching a bad cop shoot an unarmed person in the back or beat the shit out of a protester and does nothing, then that good cop is not a good cop. So you're not a good CIA agent if you know this is happening and you continue to work there.
Right. So how's the expression called? What do you call a guy sitting with 7 Klan members? Right. 7 Klan members. Yeah. And it's like, every white person isn't in the Klan, but every Klan member is a white person. So, let's just, if you work for the CIA, I just inherently think you're a bad person and you're guilty. Yeah, and you largely are, because it's even for the tiny select, let's say, let's make up a random number, 20% that are good people who have just been indoctrinated and think they're doing good, but then slowly realize what the CIA is. You make a choice every day to be there. So it's like, once you realize what the fuck that system's about, you're still there, then you are it.
Yeah, unless you do what John Kiriakou did. You're not a good person then.
And Ray McGovern.
Yeah, or Ray McGovern. Unless you're one of those guys who went, oh my God, this is awful. You're part of the problem. I'm sorry. There's nothing. I have no sympathy for you. I have nothing for you. And I don't care how many good cases you prevented this crime or that crime, but you're letting this kind of shit happen. This America is a reckless, out of control, evil monster. So enjoy the Christmas season, guys, or whatever you celebrate.
We have plenty of Christmas merch online if you want to check that out.
Yeah, we've got pew pew with just a wreath on it. Like the oval part of the P and the pew is a wreath.
Yeah, it just says "'Tis the season to be jolly," and then there's a little Government Secrets logo. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. Our t-shirt actually just say Santa Claus is a CIA op, and that's our
I actually did. I should send it to you. I actually did a segment on how fucked up Santa Claus is.
Yeah.
I did a segment on it. Basically indoctrinates kids in the early years to believe in like bullshit propaganda. But anyway, we won't get into that now. So
all right, so let's move on to Government Secrets segment number 2, post Graham's tirade.
Let's see if we can reset after Graham lost his cool. No,
this is not me losing my cool.
Oh, okay.
Losing my cool would be a very loud, scary, horrifying thing. That me losing. This is me just being focused and angry. My losing my cool is an insane, violent hellfire, which I'm going to reserve for those who truly deserve it.
Well, I like whatever this was. Do you have a smoothie? Do you have a calm smoothie near you, or?
I already had a smoothie before the show. I just came from hot yoga, but this subject will do this to me. If I'm on a beach and I'm like in the middle of surfing the most amazing wave, and we started talking about this, I would be on my surfboard furious.
And interrupting your meditation class.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to see how much I can get through in like 10 minutes. But so this is from Tom Dispatch, which is a good outlet if people want to check it out. And it's about waste in government in Afghanistan, but I thought this brought forward some new numbers, so I think it's pretty crucial.
So I'm assuming the numbers are going down, right? Like you found out it wasn't that bad?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything's fine in Afghanistan now. So he starts out by talking about the idea that Afghanistan was a failure, right? That's what we all hear. Afghanistan, what a failure, what a failure. But my point that I made a while ago, which he's making here, is that, well, it wasn't a failure to the ruling elite. It actually did what they wanted. And one of those things was enriching themselves. So he says, but the generals who oversaw America's disastrous 20 years of war in Afghanistan and regularly lied about how it was going, that's a different story. It was no failure. As Isaac Stanley Becker of the Washington Post reported recently, the 8 generals who commanded American forces in Afghanistan between 2008 and 2018 have gone on to serve on more than 20 corporate boards, making God knows how much money for having been a general in Afghanistan. And this is this revolving door that we haven't talked all that much about. But if you get in the revolving door, it's like, yeah, the military might not pay their generals millions of dollars because that's a quote unquote conflict of interest. However, they are going to get paid millions of dollars. So it's, once they leave, joining all these boards and things like that. So at the end of the day, it's still like they get paid millions of dollars for being a general that created war around the world. And he gives some examples. Since retiring, General Stanley McChrystal, who oversaw the Obama-era troop surge in Afghanistan, has served as a board member or advisor for at least 10 companies, making millions of dollars. Last year, General Joseph Dunford Jr., the Afghan commander 2013 to 2014, joined the board of Lockheed Martin, the biggest Pentagon contractor. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, who at one point in his military career was the head of U.S. Central Command, which oversaw both the Afghan and Iraq wars, later joined the board of weapons giant Raytheon, making $1.7 million in the process. And then he goes on to this report from William Hartung. It's called, you can look it up, it's called The Profits of War, how corporate America cashed in on the post 9/11 Pentagon spending surge. More than 1/3 of all contracts now go to just 5 major weapons companies: Lockheed Martin, Boeing, General Dynamics, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman. Those 5 received more than $166 billion in contracts in the fiscal year 2020 alone. To put such a figure in perspective, the $75 billion in Pentagon contracts awarded to Lockheed Martin that year was significantly more than 1.5 times the entire 2020 budget for the State Department and the Agency for International Development, which together totaled $44 billion. So Lockheed Martin is making more than the State Department, or is allotted more than the State Department.
It's like these guys have cashed out so much. They've made so much money. It's like the 2 winners of the 20-year war in Afghanistan are the Taliban, who now have $83 billion worth of American weaponry, and defense contractors, and these generals who then, when they retire, they've got, big 7, 6, 7, 8-figure incomes. And if you're lucky enough, you get to be Secretary of Defense. Yeah.
Because I think this is most shocking if you realize the idea that in the, and the founding fathers are atrocious in many ways, but they did have the idea that there should be no standing army, and the military and the state, or the military should be accountable to the civilians, the people. But obviously, if you have these, and that's why the military doesn't pay 6, 7-figure incomes, I guess 7-figure incomes to generals and shit. But if you have these generals that know that the moment they leave, they're going to join these boards of these weapons contractors, then basically that argument is moot. Like it's defeating the idea that these people are somehow accountable to the people. No, they're accountable to the weapons contractors that are going to pay them, and they know that when they leave.
Yeah, they know that. They're just like, you got a big payday waiting for you. The minute it's like working in the White House for any president. You got a huge payday waiting for you when you get out in the private sector.
As long as you don't ruffle any feathers or go against what is the normal American empire.
Right. As long as you play ball.
Yeah.
And you can be critical of the other party in this ridiculous puppet show, but you can't be critical of the ruling elites as long as you play ball, and then you got a job for life.
Companies benefiting from the buildup of the past 20 years also included logistics and construction firms like Kellogg, Brown and Root, KBR, and Bechtel, as well as armed private security contractors like Blackwater and DynCorp. We did an episode on DynCorp a few episodes ago. The Congressional Research Service estimates that in fiscal year 2020, the spending for contractors of all kinds had grown to $420 billion, or well over half of the total Pentagon budget. And something I'm doing on an upcoming Redacted in the new year, Redacted tonight, is more discussion of the fact that the Pentagon's never been audited. And they are audited the past 4 years for the first time. And every time they just say, we failed our audit. So there's no accountability for where this money's going, even though we know some of these numbers. The best known reconstruction and logistics contractor in Iraq and Afghanistan was Halliburton, through its KBR subsidiary. At the start of both wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, Halliburton was the recipient of the Pentagon's Logistics Civil Augmentation Program contracts. Those open-ended arrangements involved coordinating support functions for troops in the field, including setting up military bases, maintaining equipment, and providing food and laundry services. By 2008, the company had received more than $30 billion for such work.
I remember being in Afghanistan.
I was going to say, you've actually had meals that were prepared by these people.
I've seen it. I saw it. I saw it in real time. I saw it up close and personal. And I saw, I remember one of the soldiers called KBR, Keep Bush Rich. And I saw the resentment towards some of these contractors because they were all like, these were jobs that the military used to do. The military used to cook its own food, and they're like, and now, and so even one of these interviews,
there wasn't a profit when they were doing it that way. There wasn't a profit motive.
No, there wasn't a profit motive. So it was like, and some of these soldiers were like, some who'd been in like 10, 15 years, you know, and were getting deployed to Afghanistan, and they'd been in a long time. I remember one woman, I said, and this interview is actually in my documentary, Afghanistan, which you can watch on Rockfin. She said, you know, they're doing the same jobs we're doing, only they're getting paid a hell of a lot more. Yeah. Like, and I remember even a friend of mine that I played lacrosse with in college, and he was from New York, and he lost 3 friends on 9/11, and he joined the army at age like 35. And he went in, and he went to Ranger school, and he was like, you know, he went all in. And I remember he said to me, he goes, Graham, if I would have died wearing I asked him one time, I said, when you got out, how come you didn't go back and make all this money? And he goes, I'll just be honest with you, Graham. These guys that want to go over there, the ex-soldiers, and make money, fine. He goes, but if I would have died wearing an American uniform, that's fine. I signed up for it. I was here to serve my country. I lost 3 friends in 9/11. He goes, if I would have died wearing a Blackwater or triple canopy or one of those uniforms, he goes, I would have been pissed. He goes, I would have been pissed. And I don't, and so I just heard, and I got to see how much money was being spent and wasted. I mean, just like the same job that some soldier was, you know, who's making 35 grand a year, they'd now pay somebody 80 or 100 or 120 grand a year.
I actually have more on that. While an armed contractor who had served in the Marines could earn as much as $200,000 annually in Iraq, that was rare, but it could happen. About 3/4 of the contractor workforce there was made up of, and then of course there's the Blackwater people you're talking about that make well more than that. They could be making $1 million. But about 3/4 of the contractor workforce there was made up of people from countries like Nepal or Philippines or Iraqi citizens. So you kind of have these like tiers. You have the Blackwater people and other organizations that are these mercenaries being paid crazy amounts of money. Then you have the U.S. soldiers being paid little, but something. You know, some of them are getting college for free, those type of things. And then below that, you have these contractors, which are often making like pennies. So these contractors from countries like Nepal, Philippines, or Iraqi citizens, they were poorly paid, and at times they received as little as $3,000 per year. A 2017 analysis by Costs of War Project documented abysmal labor conditions and major human rights abuses inflicted on foreign nationals working on U.S.-funded projects in Afghanistan, including false imprisonment, theft of wages, and deaths and injuries in areas of conflict. So it's like a tiered class system of soldiers.
It's like, and that just shows you so glaringly that it's not war to pursue justice and defend and blah, blah, blah. It's war for profit. It's all for profit. It's all, I mean, having been to Afghanistan 3 times and Iraq 3 times in Kuwait, I saw it up front. I was like, oh, this is for profit, you know? And then the other thing too, especially with the mercenaries, you know, the paid soldiers, they didn't have the same rules of engagement. They could do whatever the hell they wanted. I mean, like they weren't held accountable. They weren't even held accountable, but because they couldn't be tried under a military tribunal. So
just about the only group ever held accountable was a couple of Blackwater soldiers who caused that massacre in Iraq, and then Trump pardoned them.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Just have a bit more here. Starting in 2004, a year into the Iraq War, the Special Inspector General for Iraq Reconstruction, a congressionally mandated body designed to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what you're talking about, where they're like, we will watch ourselves and we will discover what's wrong. Let's see. Along with congressional watchdogs like Representative Henry Waxman, exposed scores of examples of overcharging, faulty construction, and outright theft by contractors engaged in the quote-unquote rebuilding of that country. Again, you undoubtedly won't be surprised to find out that relatively few companies suffered significant financial or criminal consequences for what can only be described as striking war profiteering. The Congressional Commission on Wartime Contracting in Iraq and Afghanistan estimated that as of 2011, waste, fraud, and abuse in the two war zones had already totaled $31 to $60 billion. And again, it's kind of funny to me, like, yes, I want to hear about waste. I want to hear when these companies are just fucking taking this money and running off with it and pretending they're doing things and not doing them and overcharging. I do want to hear about it, but at the same time, what we're doing is so fucking horrific. It's kind of funny to just be upset and like, they overcharged us for our immense war crimes. Like,
yep. Yeah, I know. It's like, we're just greed. It makes Robert Duvall's character in Apocalypse Now seem sane.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's really, America is a greedy, insane asylum death cult.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
one more note on the fraud. The Afghan reconstruction process was similarly replete with examples of fraud, waste, and abuse. These included a U.S. appointed economic task force that spent $43 million constructing a gas station essentially in the middle of nowhere that would never be used. Another $150 million on lavish living quarters for U.S. economic advisors, hilariously economic advisors, and $3 million for Afghan police patrol boats that would prove similarly useless. Also, in the past, I've covered ghost schools where they say they're building schools and they take millions of dollars to build these schools and they never build them, but they still take the money. There's also a lot of ghost troops in Afghanistan where the U.S. pays whatever, some Afghan military guy, all kinds of millions upon millions of dollars to train troops. And then they just say, yep, I'm training them. You can hear them in the distance right now. Oh, we're troops. Oh, and then, yep, you hear them. That was them. And like, there's no actual troops there. They're just collecting all the money. And so there's all these like just bullshit, phenomenal bullshit. Matthew Ho, a veteran who's since become a whistleblower of sorts, has detailed how he was given just pallets of cash to hand out. Like literally, he said at one time he had over $1 million in a safe in his bedroom to hand out, and no one was checking where he was handing it.
Man, how do we get that gig?
I know. That sounds all right.
Can I just be in charge of like a pallet full of a couple $100 million? Like, I'll take care of it. I'll be solid with you guys. Trust me. I'll be all good. Don't worry about it.
Your school building skills are impressive. I've known you as an excellent school builder.
It's going to be great. I mean, no one who's going to know. It's going to be fantastic. Wow. This is...
So there's some of the waste. Afghanistan was a success. It was a success for the rich. It was a success for the ruling elite. It was a success for America to continue to have a failed state in Afghanistan and not something that is threatening to the U.S. empire. So when they say it was a failure, they mean it was a 20-year success for them.
Yep. This is where I would cue like Lee Greenwood's "Proud to Be America" song if we were doing this live. This is where I would like
proud to be an American.
Yep. So I hope everybody really has a great holiday.
Listen, Graham, I think you asked at the beginning of this how to make an impact. I think we've done important work this year.
Yeah, we have. We've done important work, and
I'm sorry if I've made your ulcer worse, but
I don't have an ulcer because I eat healthy and I release my emotions rather than stuff them down.
Okay.
So I process my emotions, in a healthy way, so I don't have ulcers, and then I also unplug. So as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to go watch like NBA highlights or whatever, cause like I watch a slam dunk compilation video or something fun like that.
Oh yeah. Totally. I turn this off and I go and watch 17 episodes of 30 Rock. So
Yep. So right on. Well, good work, buddy. It's good to be back in the saddle again. Are you
every time you act like I'm the one that makes you sad about the reality of the world, but you're the one doing 52 Epstein videos in a row. So I really don't think it's me. I really don't think it's me.
Lee, I'm not blaming you at all. This isn't your fault, even though this podcast was your idea. I'm not blaming you at all. I'm saying that whether it's this show or my own show or when I'm a guest on somebody else's show, we live in an awful, horrifying world, and I'm just the concrete reality of that is never easy to swallow. But we find the hope where we can, and
I agree, man. And,
yeah,
you're important to me, and everyone should just remember to subscribe at tickcock.com.
Like a typical comic, you said a very touching, wonderful, warm thing, and then went right to a dick joke. I really appreciate that, Lee. You're important to me, and sign up for TikTok. Like, I love that. Like, it couldn't be too heartfelt, because then there's too.
You know what it is? It's the hug. It's the male hug where you punch the guy in the back as you do it. You can't. I'm hugging you, but I'm hitting you. It's that.
Or you make some joke. You give a sincere hug, and then you like grab his ass or something. You make some joke like, So yeah, that's what it is. Well, buddy, are we going to do this Friday or next Monday? What do you know?
I will absolutely let you know. Let's say a small prayer for Friday.
I love that. I love that. Like, you just, whatever number I decide to assign to an episode, and then I just have to go, well, whenever Lee's ready to.
I'll be there, whatever number it is.
Whatever number it is, you'll be there, and whatever day you're available, I'll be there.
Listen, one of the keys to my success and most content creator success is keeping the audience on their toes. Just never letting them know when you'll be there, when you're dropping new shit. It's called surprise success.
Yeah, they should feel lucky that we're doing this. A lot of people really like, oh, my audience, I'm so catered to my audience. I'm always like, no, you're lucky I do this. You're lucky.
The key is to have a regular schedule for like a month, and then one day leave about 500 people sitting alone in a chat room. And then they really learn their worth. They learn what they are, and it's good for them. It's good. It's healthy.
I want my audience to feel like they're not significant. Like we all are. We're all not significant. So I'm not, you're not, and our audience isn't.
That's what keeps them coming back.
That's what keeps them coming back for more. A dysfunctional relationship, a really abusive.
Yep.
But seriously, folks, go to liberapay.com/government secrets and support our show, because you don't matter. I want you to know that. All right. I think we're done, right? That's the end of Government Secrets, episode 65. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood, and go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.